Welcome to the LinkedIn Trust Series at Advertising Week New York. I have Tim Cadogan here from OpenX. How you doing?
BJ. Good, great. Thank you for having me.
You enjoying the show so far?
Yeah, a little crazy, but all good.
Yeah, with all the people and, the tech.
Yeah, exactly.
It gets interesting, doesn't it?
A couple of wrinkles, but very good.
That's okay. Not bad. Day two.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about OpenX.
Yeah, so OpenX, we're an ad exchange. And what that means is we basically run something like a stock marketplace, a stock market for buyers and sellers of digital media. And so if you're a seller, you're a publisher, or an app developer, and you have advertising space, you can feed that essentially into our marketplace in real time, and we bring in buyers who buy through algorithms, much like flash trading in the stock market, who compete for their ad to be presented to that seller at that moment of time. So think of it as advertising, the stock market conducted at the atomic level of each individual ad impression. Okay. Great business, been growing very quickly. We're in a space called programmatic, which reflects the automated trading system, and it's grown to be a multi-billion-dollar industry in the last 7 or 8 years.
So I think back through the past few years, and it's amazing seeing the trends and how the programmatic and the ad tech has just grown and blossomed. Yeah. And it wasn't very long ago where we were still talking about issues with bots and fraudulent purchases or clicks and things like that. Yep. How important is trust and transparency to the future of advertising tech?
It's incredibly important. I mean, you think about any marketplace, whether it be a conventional marketplace where you're buying physical goods, or you're buying financial products, or you're buying ad inventory, buyers and sellers have to believe in the integrity of that marketplace. And that means a couple of different things. If you're a buyer, you want to know that what you are buying is really the thing that you think you are buying.
Well, that's true.
So in the case of ad space, they want to know. If I think I'm buying inventory from the New York Times, I want to make sure it actually is the New York Times to verify that. So we put a lot of effort into making sure that the supply that is in the marketplace is real and legitimate and verified. On the same side, on the quality side of the buy side, sellers only want good quality ads that make sense and are good for their users to be running. And so the trust in that system is incredibly important. And that's one of the things that we've worked hard on, others are working hard, and I think we're making a lot of progress getting people comfortable that this is a good, well-lit, trusted system that we have here.
It's interesting. You actually put it in a way I have not heard it before. So as I'm thinking about the purchase, if you're looking at it from a B2C side, if I'm thinking about it as a consumer who goes online to an e-commerce site and purchases something, I read the description, I see the pictures, and if something shows up in my house that either does not meet those descriptions or does not look what's in the picture, it's just like bam.
Yeah, I mean it's a value promise.
Sure.
This is business, right?
And it's the same way.
You make a promise that this product or service does this or is this, and if that promise is real, it's a good transaction and will be repeated. If it's not real, the buyer and the seller, or in this case the buyer, will be unhappy and may not buy again. So if that value promise is real, then business is reciprocal and the cycle becomes a virtuous cycle.
Has it been sort of like digging yourself out of a hole with all the negative publicity that's been out over the few I'm not saying anything about it. I know OpenX is doing all this work, but there's a lot of times you get lumped in with the people who didn't do it right the first place.
Well, think about news. I mean, typically any news about any topic tends to focus on the things that aren't going well.
The negatives,
right? I mean, you don't get a lot of news stories about, how well, politics is going in a country. You only really hear about a country when there's problems, because that's interesting. Right. Same thing with business news, right? It usually focuses on challenges. We haven't felt ever like we're digging out of a hole because the underlying trend is so powerful. What we're trying to do is make sure that we unlock the full scope of the opportunity for our customers. And that does require a lot of spade work. On the quality side, most recently we've been doing a lot of work around transparency, which think of it as what are the rules of the game, and making sure that buyers and sellers understand the rules of the game, in this case a very large scale auction that we're running, so they can say, hey, great, I get it, I know the rules, I know how to optimize for the rules, I'm all in.
So how do you get that transparency across? How do you win that trust?
Well, this goes a little bit into the weeds, but in our case, we launched a new version of the auction called a first price auction, which basically what that means is you pay what you bid. Instead of a second price auction, which is you may pay less than what you bid depending on what other competitors in that auction bid.
Okay.
And so that's very important to understand, because as a buyer, your bidding strategy changes. And so what we do, to be very specific, is in every single bid request, and we do many billions of these a day, many actually hundreds of billions a day, we break out what kind of auction is this. So the buyer, and this is of course all happening automatically,
Right.
the buyer's system, their technology can read, oh, this is the rules of this specific auction are this, I can play this way, or they're that, I'll play that way. So at the very specific level, it is explicit exactly how the transparency is being laid out.
Excellent. Do you find yourself having to do? Actually, how do you market that on transparency? So as a business, you have to market out to these businesses as well.
Really interesting question. So a lot of our work goes actually into developing that solution together with our customers in advance.
Okay.
So we spent a good chunk of this year talking to them, saying, hey, the market is likely to shift in this direction, but we don't just want to act and then have you guys react, which we have seen in this industry. We want to interact and create this together. So we spent a lot of time, we previewed it, we got their input, we actually adapted our approach based on their input. We went live a few weeks ago, and then the other piece that's really important is we are now giving them time to adjust. So rather than just like, hey, flip the switch, it's on, it's like, no, we're going to start at a low level, and we're going to dial it up over time, and you will be able to have input as an individual buyer, how fast or slow we dial it up. And of course they love this. It's collaborative, they know what's happening in advance, and they can have input as to the degree of the dial-up over the next few months.
So you avoid some of that as Facebook makes an update and everybody revolts because it's something different. You're avoiding this by
we're trying to
letting them
avoid surprises.
Right, do it at their own pace.
Yeah, exactly.
Tim, thank you so much for
it's been a pleasure.
Joining us here.
Good luck
Absolutely.
with the rest of it.
And join us for more of the LinkedIn Trust series here at Advertising Week New York. Thanks again, Tim.